You know the name Doug Poppa?
Yes, I do. God bless Doug Poppa, an honest cop.
I was elated, of course, but then as he testified, I was somewhat concerned for him, because I knew that they were probably going to crucify that man.
The top cop who put his badge on the line for justice.
One man who confronted truth and consequences.
Welcome to Truth and Consequences with Doug Poppa, episode 47, from Monday, May 3rd, 2021. On Thursday night, April 29th, I broke the story in episode 46 that embattled Las Vegas Justice Court Judge Melanie Andress-Tobiasson would be resigning from the bench in lieu of facing a litany of charges that were filed against her in August 2020 by the Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline. As part of Tobiasson's resignation agreement with the Commission agreed to drop the May 17th public hearing that Tobiasson was to face, and according to the agreement, Tobiasson will drop the civil rights lawsuit that she filed against the Commission in federal court on March 3rd, 2021. Had the May 17th hearing occurred, it is my opinion, based on Tobiasson's unethical and criminal conduct as a sitting judge, which I have backed up in multiple podcasts, Judge Tobiasson would have been removed from the bench and later possibly disbarred. As I stated when I broke the story Thursday night, Tobiasson, according to the agreement, has stipulated that after vacating her judicial office, she will neither seek nor accept judicial office in the state of Nevada at any time in the future, nor will she undertake or perform any duty with the definition of, quote, judge. It's not just a mere resignation, ladies and gentlemen. It's an admission of her guilt, regardless of what Judge Tobiasson will say. Tobiasson knew that she would be found guilty at the Judicial Commission hearing and be removed from the bench, so she took the easy way out and agreed to resign and stipulated that she would never sit on the bench again in Nevada. The acceptance of Judge Tobiasson's resignation by the Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline is a win for the Commission, because she's removed from the bench and that was their goal. It is a win for the Las Vegas Metro Police, because none of the detectives Tobiasson made allegations against that most likely were going to be subpoenaed by the Commission to testify under oath at the hearing will no longer have to testify. And it's a loss for the Las Vegas community, because transparency and accountability just flew out the door, and as a result, we will never hear from Judge Tobiasson testifying under oath, at least not in this hearing. Tobiasson, according to public records, and pay attention to the screenshot in this podcast, made over $200,000 in salary alone in 2020. Tobiasson will keep her pension and her law license, so she still can practice law in the state of Nevada. If you've been following my investigative journalism work, starting with the almost 30 articles that I authored relating to Judge Tobiasson and her involvement in the 2016 unsolved murders of Sidney Land and Nehemiah Kaufman, that were published by the Baltimore Post-Examiner in 2019, and more recently, in May 2020, when I started my independent investigative journalism podcast, now in its 47th episode, you would know that I'm the only journalist in Las Vegas, or anywhere in the country for that matter, that has covered Judge Tobiasson extensively, bar none. I broke one story after another on Judge Tobiasson and the unsolved murders, none of which have been reported on by the Las Vegas media. On Friday, April 30th, the day after I broke the news on Tobiasson's resignation, the Vegas media followed suit. KTNV-TV, Action News 13, reported this about Tobiasson's resignation.
A judge under fire for ethics violations has agreed now to resign rather than face the charges found against her. Well, Justice of the Peace Melanie Andress-Tobiasson will resign effectively on May 7th and agrees never to be a judge in Nevada again. Tobiasson was charged with improper involvement in a 2016 double murder case. She was facing 8 ethics charges, including failing to uphold and apply the law and also permitting family interests and relations to influence conduct and judgment. Well, it began when Judge Tobiasson reportedly asked Metro Police to investigate a clothing store where her daughter worked, believing that it was a front for teen drug use and also prostitution. The commission's complaint said that Judge Tobiasson personally investigated the cause in the case using a burner cell phone, sent inappropriate text messages, and also issued threats. The complaint also says that Judge Tobiasson asked investigators to share confidential information about that case. Now, Tobiasson did not respond to our request for comment about her resignation. Her attorney previously said the judge was acting as a mother trying to protect her daughter and get the police to hold someone accountable.
Another Las Vegas station, KLAS-TV 8 News Now, on Friday, in their reporting, said they have been following this story extensively. I beg to differ on that. No news outlet anywhere has covered Judge Tobiasson extensively, with the exception of the Baltimore Post-Examiner and Truth and Consequences with Doug Poppa. 8 News Now mentioned a segment of Tobiasson's interview with them that aired in April of 2018. What 8 News Now failed to report to the public at any time is that after they aired that interview with Judge Tobiasson in April 2018, Tobiasson threatened KLAS-TV with legal action if they aired any more of the almost 5-hour interview she gave them. Judge Tobiasson has a history of burning journalists who she went to and did interviews with. She did it with 8 News Now, and she did it with me when she said my interview with her was not to be published. As a matter of fact, 8 News Now wanted nothing more to do with Judge Tobiasson. I confirmed that when I received a copy of an email from Connie Land, Sidney Land's mother, that she received from George Knapp of the 8 News Now I-Team dated February 22, 2019. Knapp told Land, quote, "We aired the stories, Connie, including the allegations made by the judge. If there is new information about the murder or the murder investigation, then I am all ears. But I am not interested in rehashing the same allegations made by the judge, especially after she filed formal statements accusing KLAS of misleading her because she supposedly never intended to appear on camera or on the air. I have zero interest in going down that road again." Now, as I exclusively previously reported, Judge Tobiasson told an investigator from the Judicial Commission in September of 2018 that the interview she gave to 8 News Now was never to be aired publicly. Tobiasson's statement to that investigator was in direct conflict to what Tobiasson had told me 4 months earlier during my recorded on-the-record interview with her in May of 2018. Tobiasson said her attorney gave 8 News Now permission to air the interview and that she wanted to do it 6 months prior. Listen to this short audio excerpt.
And my attorney tells me, I think we need to do the story. He doesn't tell me why. He just says, I think we need to air the story.
Right.
I said, I agree. I said, I don't know what the fuck we're waiting for. Let's do it. I wanted to do it 6 months ago. And so they air the story.
And that was on April 13th when they aired it.
Yes.
So, who was Judge Tobiasson lying to? The judicial investigator or an investigative journalist, yours truly, or did she even know? 8 News Now did not report in their story on Friday that Judge Tobiasson can no longer be a judge in the state of Nevada ever again. Why, I don't know. Las Vegas blogger Dana Gentry, who writes a blog for the online outlet Nevada Current, also failed to mention in her blog on Friday that Tobiasson can no longer be a judge in the state of Nevada. Blogger Gentry, in a September 2020 blog, also lied to the Las Vegas public when blogger Gentry said that Connie Land, the mother of Sidney Land, one of the victims in the unsolved 2016 Land Kaufman murders, who filed a complaint against Judge Tobiasson with the Judicial Commission, blogger Gentry said that Connie Land's complaint was based mostly on articles that I wrote. If blogger Gentry had any level of competency and did just the basic investigative work, blogger Gentry would have discovered that Connie Land's complaint was written in 2018, and that there was no way Land's complaint could have been influenced by any story I wrote, for the simple fact that my stories on Judge Tobiasson's interview weren't published until after Land had filed her complaint with the Judicial Commission. But that didn't matter to blogger Gentry. She misrepresented the facts in her blog, only enforcing my opinion that blogger Gentry couldn't investigate her way out of a paper bag. Judge Melanie Andress-Tobiasson told the Las Vegas Review-Journal on Friday, quote, "I have been vilified, lied about, and accused of wrongdoing, when in fact what I did was appropriate and should be applauded. I'm resigning because they have terrorized and lied about me for 3 years. The bottom line is, I didn't resign because I did anything wrong. I resigned because I've been accused of doing things that are completely appropriate. I called the police and reported a crime, and they didn't do anything. I've never interfered in the investigation. My comments. Really, Judge Tobiasson? You were terrorized by the Judicial Commission? Come on. Besides you being a documented liar, if you did nothing wrong, then why did you sign this agreement just about 2 weeks shy of what would have been your public hearing? You told the Review-Journal that you did things that were completely appropriate. Was it appropriate when you opened a fictitious Instagram account to taunt a woman you knew to be a suspect in the Land Kaufman murders? Was it appropriate when in 2015 you broke the law and allowed your minor daughter to be in the company of pimps, sex traffickers, criminals? Was it appropriate when you reached out to Metro police detectives who provided to you, by your own admission, confidential details about the investigation of the Land Kaufman murders? Was it appropriate conduct, Judge Tobiasson, when you threatened Shane Valentine through his attorney? Was it appropriate when you went to his home and kicked in his door as you stated you did? Was it appropriate when you told Connie Land, the mother of a murdered woman, that she couldn't trust the police because they were all, quote, corrupt assholes? Was it appropriate conduct for a judge to tell Connie Land that one of the homicide detectives working on her daughter's murder sucked at his job? Was that appropriate behavior for a sitting judge? I can go on and on with this, Judge Tobiasson, on the countless times you disgraced your robe with your conduct and documented lies. Judge Tobiasson, are you going to hold a press conference and explain why you said that there is a cover-up in the Land Kaufman murder case and that the police probably destroyed evidence? Judge Tobiasson, are you going to disclose to the public the evidence that you know about that proves there is a cover-up in the unsolved Land Kaufman murders, as you said? Maybe this will refresh your memory, Judge Melanie Andress-Tobiasson.
The problem is they don't know that I know what evidence they have. Chances are they've destroyed it by now.
Judge Tobiasson, now that you're going to be a civilian and no longer a sitting judge, you will still be in possession of evidence relating to an unsolved double homicide that you obtained because of your position as a judge, and you said you have. Are you going to expose this alleged cover-up? I'm sure the families of Sidney Land and Nehemiah Kaufman will be eager to see the evidence you have. Judge Tobiasson, are you going to explain why you said that the wrong two people were murdered? That it was you and your daughter who were meant to be killed, not Sidney Land and Nehemiah Kaufman? Judge Tobiasson, you said that just hours before the murders, your daughter Sarah and her best friend Allie, the daughter of another Las Vegas Metro police officer, who you said was a prostitute who was working for Kaufman, one of the murder victims, were both over your house after you were outed by the police as a source of information to Allie and her police officer father. You said Allie left your house sometime in the middle of the night, put out a tweet that she was called in by Vice, that you said led to the murders. Was your daughter with Allie when she left your home? And if so, where did they go? Maybe over to Neo's to tell him what happened before he was murdered? Judge Tobiasson, you then tried to defame Connie Land's character and integrity when you lied to the Judicial Commission, when you wrote in your written response to Connie Land's complaint that you had no idea why Connie Land believed that your getting outed by the police had anything to do with the murders. You said that you had no idea why Connie Land would believe that. Really, Judge Tobiasson? I guess you don't remember this.
In the double homicide that happened 8 hours after I was outed as a source of information to one of Shane Valentine's prostitutes who had left him and was now working for Neo. 8 hours later, her new pimp is killed by her old pimp because she puts out on Twitter that she had been called in and interviewed by Vice. They know, and everyone else knows, that this murder happened as a result of what they did that day.
So has anybody been indicted for this double murder?
No, that's what I just said. They're covering it up. And they know that the fact that they outed me got 2 people killed. They weren't the 2 people they were trying to get killed, me and my daughter, but it got 2 people killed.
Judge Tobiasson also told the Review-Journal on Friday, quote, "And I deserve to be able to announce my resignation in a way that dignified my career." My comment? I think your despicable behavior blew that one, Judge. Tobiasson also said Friday that she negotiated her resignation agreement for 7 weeks. Wow. So that would put the time frame that her attorney started to negotiate a deal with the Judicial Commission just after they filed a lawsuit against the Commission. In several previous episodes, I destroyed that lawsuit because it was nothing more than a distortion wrapped in a misrepresentation. So maybe Tobiasson's attorneys aren't the bumbling idiots I thought they were. File a frivolous lawsuit against the Judicial Commission and then use it as leverage to make a sweetheart deal for Judge Tobiasson. I can take a real good guess and say that the stipulation that Tobiasson can never be a judge again in Nevada was not her attorney's idea. So I have to give a thumbs up to the Commission to get Tobiasson to agree to that. With that, here is where the truth lies. No pun intended. The investigation of the unsolved 2016 Land Kaufman double homicide was compromised both by Judge Melanie Andress-Tobiasson and the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. How about that for a topic on the next Morning Cup of Joe segment on 8 News Now with Sheriff Joe Lombardo? Legendary NYPD detective Frank Serpico, the first police officer in history to expose widespread corruption in a police department, commented on my investigative journalism, quote, 3-year unrelenting excellent coverage in pursuit of corruption and cover-up. Judge drops bogus lawsuit and evades prosecution and may be hired in any other jurisdiction but Nevada. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, except for Poppa's podcast, Revealing. I leave Frank's best quote for last. So true it is. Quote, journalists are complicit in abuse and corruption cover-up when they continue to interview those responsible and not the victims, thus allowing them to exonerate themselves in public. Now, here are a few comments from the public on what they think of Judge Tobiasson's resignation. Shouldn't matter if she resigned or not. She should still be held accountable for her actions. Jail or quit your job, WTF. She should be fired and put in jail. I think public officials who abuse their position should always face harsh penalties and not just allowed to resign. This type of stuff goes on a lot. She just got caught. I wish I could just resign when I get in trouble. Ethics violations in the People's Republic of Clark County? No way. Strap on the golden parachute, glide into the same job in an adjacent state. Zero accountability. How many of her cases are going to have to be gone through? Then you have to wonder how much she did not get caught for. This is what happens when you know where the bodies are buried in your organization and have recordings with pictures. You don't get fired, you're allowed to resign. This is why we have judges and politicians who think they could do anything and not be punished. Resigned because it secured her benefits. Her Botox treatment and lip fillings got in the way of good judgment. From where I'm sitting, and it's a very balanced position, it looks like she got off with much more than she deserved. I'm expecting to hear more about this case. Allowing her to resign is a true miscarriage of justice. Charges still need to be filed. Power has its privileges. Criminal charges against the judge should be filed. Shame on this system. So she could be a judge in another state? So she wanted someone to be held accountable instead of holding herself accountable and parenting your child. As we say in New York, a liar for hire. She needs to be arrested for that terrible hair extensions. She should still be prosecuted to the fullest. She can't be that stupid. Guess she can. This bull of qualified immunity for any and all government employees needs to end. If you're a government employee at any level, you need to be held accountable for your decisions and actions. No get-out-of-jail cards for any of them. So she gets to just walk away from breaking the law as long as she does not work as a judge. WTF. That's like holding a prosecution hostage to get a better deal. Just bust her like anyone else if she resigns or tries to stay on the bench. Wow, self-confessed mess up, and promise to not offend. To re-offend. These are those privileged people. When they say jail or resign, the fact that they are offered that is privilege. No justice in the justice system when they protect their own. Why is it that if anyone in law enforcement or the court system can resign so they don't have to face any sort of disciplinary or criminal action? Resigned, they are allowed to get away with everything under this corrupt legal system. How do they always get away with crimes? I just resign and it will all be done. WTF. So as a judge holding others to accountable for their actions, how can she be allowed to resign and avoid being held accountable for her actions? It's extreme hypocrisy and destroys public confidence in the justice system. Wow, she thinking she a queen as a judge and walk away free. That's sad. She should be held accountable and not given any route of escape. Criminal. Judge, I will resign from life of crime if you let me go. Judge, no, go directly to jail, Judge. I will resign if you let me go. Fellow judges, okay. Why are we surprised a member of our justice system is corrupt? I thought we all knew corruption is part of their duties. Wonder who is falling out of her pockets. This could get interesting. Jail or quit. A lot of officials get off way too easy. She can still go to another state and become a judge again. A woman that cares so much about getting her lips done is not focused on right or wrong as much as she should be. Why do they let the judge resign? Because they still want her to get her pension, which she wouldn't get if she was fired or charged, and that's sad. 99% of judges are dishonorable and do not play by their own rules even. End qualified immunity. So basically, power went straight to her head. Why are these criminals able to just resign rather than face charges? She should be fired, plus face charges. She should not be allowed to resign. Charge her and convict her to hold her accountable for her actions. Why do government employees get a free pass to resign rather than face charges? She got a slap on the hand. Shame on Nevada. So, she can't be a judge in Nevada anymore. Fortunately, there are still 49 states where she can exercise her bias. I'd be curious to know if there is even one ethical judge in all of America. Some people are above the law, even though no one is above the law. Still, the entire system is corrupt. I had this judge when I was arrested. I swear she was drunk. They need to review other cases she presided over for other bias violations. She has to be in jail right after she resigned. They think and act like gods. White people have to stand up when they get to the courtroom. Screw resigning. She should be fired and prosecuted since she was a member of the law, a freaking judge. Held to a much higher standard. Then she should be charged and put in prison, not quiet and go do some other place to be a judge. People should retaliate against corrupt judges. How come rules for judges, cops, and politicians are not fully applied, but if you sneeze during a traffic stop, they will charge a citizen with resisting? If you need a burner phone, that's when you know you've screwed up. Resigned and never be a judge again in the state of Nevada. Is okay, we still got 49 more states. What I learned is just quit before you have to deal with the consequences. A mother protecting her daughter who was a judge and committing a crime. Her getting a resignation still gets a payout. Wow, so she gets to go free. LMFAO, the entire justice system is a joke. No criminal charges because she chose to resign. Like, okay, if I ever do need to go to court for a crime, I'm just going to resign from it so I don't have to face charges. What a joke. Of course, she wants to keep her benefits. So, she won't have to face accountability simply by resigning. Wow, she gets a choice to resign her job or face charges. It's good to be an American in America. Zero accountability seems to be the American way. This BS special treatment needs to stop. She has dropped the hammer on we the people several times. She should face the consequences like citizens. Needs to be held accountable, not be privileged. Judge or judge not, that is the question. White people can always do as they like in this nation, no accountability. She should be held to a higher standard. Should be a better mother, no abuse or position to stop her drug-addicted daughter from turning tricks. Dirty judges everywhere. A corrupt judge in America? Shocking. This goes to show that they are above the law. No charges, just a slap on the wrist and you're fired. So she's free to be a judge elsewhere, just not in Nevada. Well, I'll be damned, another thug with the title. Our society has taken away oversight and accountability. This is like when cops bargain the badge. How can changing your employment status relieve you of criminal prosecution? Quitting, resigning, being fired, or retiring. When does that ever work for a citizen that isn't a public servant? If I rob a bank, how does my quitting or being fired from my construction job end the investigation and prosecution of my criminal actions, especially when once convicted they would automatically be fired? These judges are all crooks. Good riddance, no surprise. She just got away with it. Any judge that breaks the law and is found guilty should be jailed for 15 years minimum. I wish civilians could just resign to evade criminal charges. Must feel great to be above the law. Out of all the chaos in the world in 2021, what is overlooked is corrupt, immoral judges, people who pledge to uphold the law with blindfolds on to not discriminate between color, race, or ethnicity. White privilege will never end. Good, too many POS judges. Lock her up. So, above the law, are we? The statement, she can never again practice in Nevada, was clear. So does this mean she can take her trashy self elsewhere? Why isn't she in jail? No one is above the law. Now let me commit a crime and agree to resign. We'll see how that works out for me. And we criticize other countries for things like that, go figure. Privilege until the end. How can you train people to be better judges? Stop drinking the Kool-Aid, people. This whole system is corrupt. Let her retire rich. WTF, charge her. She needs to go. Another corrupt judge and politician. What a joke. She breaks the law and gets to resign and keep her perks. She shouldn't be able to hold on to any benefits. She resigned because she knew she was guilty. Where's the accountability? She took an oath. Not restricted from ever being a judge elsewhere. You still think judges are honest people doing their jobs properly? There are plenty more like her. Should be harsher penalties for them. Corruption in Nevada? I don't believe it. Such bullshit. Resigning is not punishment. It's literally saying she will get away with any and all crimes. White privilege. She should be charged regardless. Typical corruption in Vegas. Nothing to see here. Move along. Thanks for listening, folks. That's it till the next episode.